Hello, everyone. We are here again for an interesting topic: managed DevOps pool in Azure DevOps. So, today we will cover what managed DevOps are, their purposes, and how they differ from regular agent pools. So as you can see on my screen, we have the interface for agent pools. Some, like the first one, Azure Pipeline, is a default agent pool from Microsoft, managed by Microsoft, while the last two are self-hosted agents. But there is a different kind of agent pool that is not listed on Azure DevOps interface by default, which is called managed DevOps pool. So in Azure DevOps, an agent basically is a collection of deployment virtual machines that can execute your jobs in your pipeline. So we have different types, as I just mentioned. We have Azure Pipeline Agent Pool. These are agent pools that are managed by Microsoft. So if you reference them on your pipeline configuration, so the underlying infrastructure of virtual machines are being managed by Microsoft. Then, while on the self-hosted agent, you provision a virtual machine of choice and then install other dependencies and manage it yourself, and then use it to build your pipeline jobs. Then, the third type of agent pool, which is our topic for today, is a managed DevOps pool. So, which is an evolution of Azure DevOps Virtual Machine Scale agent. So this simplifies like custom pool creation by improving the scalability, reliability of the custom pool that we've created. So there are several use cases of this managed DevOps pool. So the use case number one is like the visual machine. You can use a visual machine image that is custom tailored by you for your CI/CD workload, but maintained by Microsoft. So you customize your VM image, then deploy it to the managed DevOps pool. Then the backend maintenance will be handled by Microsoft. So another use case scenario is like when you want your agent to scale up and down based on your configuration. So when you want your agent pool, depending on the kind of infrastructure or the pipelines or workload you have on your environment, you can actually configure this agent pool to scale up and down despite the fact that it's being managed by Microsoft. So you have some level of customization that you can do on your own. And then again, when you want to attach a disk to an agent, so you don't have to use a larger SKU. So in a case of self-hosted agent, that you can use a larger SKU to be able to curtail your workload or carry the capacity of your workload. In this case, you can attach your own disk to the agent just to get more disk space. So let's get a quick dive into how to create the agent pool. So unlike this Azure Pipeline agent, which is already by default in Azure DevOps environment, then the self-hosted, which if you do a self-hosted agent, here you can see uh, manage DevOps pool self-hosted agent. So if on self-hosted agent, if you define that, for instance, let me say test grant access to all pipelines. We are not going ahead with this just to give you an overview because we've done a previous video on that. So we have agents. To add an agent here, you have an interface that will allow you to select your environment, either Windows, Mac OS, or Linux. So each one you select, you have steps on how to configure this on your local environment or your self-hosted agent. So for this managed DevOps pool, you create it directly from Azure Portal. So on the Azure Portal interface, what you do is you just type manage DevOps pool on the search and you see this. So we'll create, just click on create. Here you choose your subscription, your resource group, and then you create a dev center. Okay, that brings us to another prerequisite to creating this. So a dev center is an Azure service designed to streamline the management of the developer environment and resources. So it is just like a part of Microsoft DevBox solution aimed at simplifying how development team works, how they collaborate, or how they assess resources needed for software development or their operations. So the dev center now acts like as a central hub where the organization can define, configure, or provision custom-made resources such as developments, pipeline, or agent pool tailored to individual project needs. Depending on the kind of project you are working, you customize or configure your infrastructures within the dev center so that it will be ready made for your dev team to start using. So the dev center now also provide developers with ready to use environment, yes, reducing the time it takes to get started or to ensure consistency across different teams. So in this environment, let me duplicate this interface and just give you a walkthrough in case you're creating a dev center from scratch. Then you see how the interface looks like. So what you do is dev center, type dev center, and the environment, and say create dev center. So from here you select, you type the name, your desired name, and then other parameters like the location. So the major thing here is you have Azure deployment environment, Azure deployment environment definitions. So if you want to use DevBox customization task, here you can now customize it and allow the individual developers to be able to customize it again to suit what they want. So that is why you have this caution here that I understand that the quick start catalog allow developers to customize their DevBox with PowerShell commands. So once you select this, you are giving your developers privilege to be able to customize what is in this dev center. So next is the settings where you have your dev box. So you can enable the catalogs per project or disable it, right? So you can also allow Microsoft hosted networks in your project, or you can use your own customized network. Then you can as well enable monitor agents so that when each agent is being spin up, Azure Monitor will be automatically installed on those agents, and then you tag. I'll give more details on tagging. So we are creating everything afresh from this manage DevOps interface. So here basically what you do is you click create dev center and then you give it a name for your dev center. So you just say okay, that's a infra team. So this dev center will be used by infra team. Then the project is a demo project. That's what you do. You create. So with this here, it will give you the whole configuration that you have in here, default settings. Then it will automatically pick the same resource group which you have picked here. They will be in the same resource group. So you have to add your DevOps organization. So the one advantage again on this managed DevOps pool is you can add multiple organizations. So the pool can be utilized on different DevOps organizations that you have on your environment, and then each individual project in each of those organizations will be making reference to your managed DevOps pool. So I'll copy the name of my organization, which is Agromat, and add it here. Then the pool name, the demo pool, and then you can choose region. We use UK South. We choose a region closest to you. However, you can still have it can still scale and then replicate to other availability zones within that same region. So you have here you can specify the number of agents. Unlike self-hosted agent, then you just create one single agent, spin up a virtual machine, and install the necessary dependencies. Except you want to create different virtual machines at the same time and install different agents on them. Here you can just specify the number of agents that you want. Here let's just do 3. Then you have agent size. So on this agent size, you can customize the size depending on the quota you have on your subscription. So if you want to customize the size, you click here and customize the size. But based on this, we won't be able to add more size except the default based on the quota on this subscription. But in a situation whereby you still want to add and you have a limit on your quota, you can request for quota increase from Microsoft and it will be implemented on your subscription. Then the OS disk we choose here for the purpose of this demo is standard. Then you can now pick your custom images. You can pick an image, you can add a custom image. So here we are picking Ubuntu. We already have one by default. So we are picking, we will have Ubuntu 20.04 by default. Then we are picking Ubuntu 22.04 to add. And then if you have a custom image that you want to use, then you can check your compute gallery and then add the custom images from your compute gallery. So this is still part of the advantages. So it has some features of default Azure pipeline agents and some features of self-hosted agents and gives you flexibility to customize. So Azure pipeline agents, you don't have a option to choose the underlying infrastructure. And also once a job finished running, the agent is being destroyed immediately. But this one, you can decide whether to keep the agent after running the job or you want to destroy it and spin up a new one on a subsequent build. So we have added image. You can delete the defaults. You can keep one. You can add multiple agents as you want, a multiple image as you want. Then here is the scaling. So you can decide the agent state. So fresh agent every time means that whenever a pipeline is triggered, a new VM, depending on the specification you have chosen, is being spinned up for you. So, and then the same agent can be reused by multiple builds. So if you select this option, that same agent can be used on multiple builds without being destroyed. So depending on your use case scenario, so if you feel like spinning up a fresh agent might take time, though it's fast enough, then you can choose reuse the agent for multiple builds. So we have standby agent mode as well on the scaling options. So what this means is, if you don't know your workload, okay, when to spin up, when to power off your agent and when to leave it on in order to maybe reduce cost, then you can just leave it to off. The spin off agent mode to off is it will not, it will just be on for you. Then if you leave it for manual, you have to off and on it at your own desired time. And automatic will kind of check a pattern within your build system. With that forecast, it can now trigger off and on depending on your usage. So we're leaving this by default. So you now have the option to use isolated network. If you select isolated network, it will spin up an individual network for this managed DevOps pool. But if you want to inject your personal network that you have created, then you can configure that and then select your existing network. So here I have one network and the default subnet. So depending on which one you choose, so you can use uh, already existing network or you can use isolated network. Then you have the storage. Here you can add another storage space. So in case maybe the default storage space your OS disk has is not enough for you, you can add or increase your storage space. For instance, let me do 128. Then I'll leave it by default by catching. Then I'll select okay, for this I'll just use a locally redundant storage standard. We have other versions, yes, standard local redundant storage, you have premium, you have zone redundant storage, you have SSD zone redundant storage. So, but for the purpose of this, you are using standard locally redundant storage. So, a driver, you can select the driver later. Just like in your virtual machines, you have driver C, D, and the rest. For this, let me just use F, and then you have your security options. So you can use this pool in multiple organizations. So if you have multiple DevOps organizations that you want to use this pool, for instance, here where I have this second organization, I can as well I can as well add this organization here. So I don't have to recreate this managed DevOps pool on any organization again. I'll just use it on multiple organizations and select projects if I want it to be project specific. But if I don't want it to be project specific, I'll just leave it by default. And then every project in that organization will inherit this managed DevOps pool. So I'm leaving it to default. Add pools to all projects. Yes. So if you choose yes, all the projects within the organization will inherit it. If you choose no, it will be specific to a particular project and you have to specify the project name. Just like here, you have different projects. So you specify the project name that will inherit this managed pool. So all projects should use it. Then you can enable the interactive mode. Here you choose the administration permissions for this managed DevOps pool. So what this means is, if I leave it to creator alone, the account which I'm deploying this will be the only account to use it. Then, but if I do inherit permission from project, so all the permissions we have assigned to users, for instance, on this project, let me check permissions. You see permission is also on the organizational level settings. Build administrators. If I check members, okay, let me check project administrators where I have, okay, I have members here. I can add multiple members. Let's say I'm adding this. So if I select this option, every member of the organization on all the projects here will be able to inherit the permission. So if I want it to be specific accounts, I can do specific account and then add the details of the account, the email address, and then I'll select whether it's a group or a user. So I use creator alone and then tags. The next is tags. So tags here, you just tag your resources normally in Azure Portal. One of the main advantages of tagging is if you are working in a very complex environment where, for instance, some infrastructures are deployed using infrastructure as a code and some are deployed just using ClickUps on Azure interface as we're doing now, then there are some scenarios that they would like to migrate those existing infrastructures that are not managed by infrastructure as a code, such as Terraform or Bicep, to Terraform. So, and in that situation, if you have thousands of resources on your environment, to be able to differentiate the ones deployed using infrastructure as a code, accessing your state files to check order might be time consuming. So the best way might be to maybe run some code, PowerShell script or Python against your subscription to pull all the resources, and then you'll be able to determine the infrastructure, the ones deployed with the infrastructure as a code and the ones without infrastructure as a code. So in that situation, tagging helps, because with tag we'll be able to know, okay, this is this, okay, maybe this infrastructure, this is what it does. So tag gives you an overview of what those infrastructure or those resources do on the environment, or the projects they are related to, or maybe deployment mechanisms and a whole lot of stuff. So we can just do a tag, do infra, and the value is demo, infra demo. Then the next is review and create. But for the purpose of this, we are not creating this against the subscription, just to give you a walkthrough, an overview of how to create a managed DevOps pool, and then what it is being used for. Then after creation, assuming we are deploying it direct against this subscription. So after creation, just like every other resource in Azure DevOps, let me use this. Let me use one of the resources as an example. Then after creation, the next thing, which is the final part, is just to assign a role-based access control to a service principal. So that service principal will be used as an authentication mechanism between Azure DevOps and Azure Portal. Because unlike the other agent pools, which some are being created like the default, which is default by Microsoft on Azure DevOps, self-hosted, which you already have a configuration of it on a VM that will provision, so there is already a visibility to this. This is just created on Azure Portal. How do you now create a visibility between the Azure Portal and the DevOps environment? Then you give a role-based access control. Within this, you create a service principal and assign a role to that service principal. For instance, here I have one service principal. Okay, let me do a contributor role here. We'll just search contributor. Okay, I'll just say virtual machine contributor, for instance. Good. And then go next. And then I'll select the members. So in this case, we are using a service principal. So this is a service principal created. I've already done a video on how you can create a service principal on enterprise application on Azure Portal. So once this is selected, then you can just click assign, and then on your pipeline you reference the name of the pool, and that's all. So this example here is using a default Microsoft pipeline agent like this. This, when we're using just a Azure pipeline agent, this is how to reference that. But when you are using a pool, a self-hosted agent or a DevOps managed pool, this is how you reference it, the name of the pool. As you can see, this Docker container is this Docker containers. Yes, but for Azure pipeline, you don't reference Azure pipeline. You just specify the kind of virtual machine you want, either Windows or Ubuntu, and that will be provisioned for you. So that's all for this. And then one of the key benefits of using this managed DevOps is that it's time management. So managed DevOps pool is designed like to reduce the time spent in managing CI/CD infrastructure. So this will free up some platform engineering cycle or dev team cycle to focus on other issues within the environment, and is also team specific. So you can create your infrastructure tailored to a particular team. So this can very easily create multiple team specific pools or prevent teams from noisy neighbor situation kind of, and tailor the pools to suit the need of individual team. It is scalable and also cost effective because you can actually optimize your Azure cost based on your CI/CD workload for unique needs also. And then with respect to security as well, so your pool agents are secured by Microsoft best practices, and also has a feature for you to further secure your pool depending on the configuration you decide to choose. So that is basically all about managed DevOps. This is just to give you an overview that agent pool is not just limited to Azure pipeline agents and self-hosted agents. There is another agent pool called managed DevOps pool. So if you find this video interesting and helpful, don't forget to like and put your comment on the comment section below, and then give us your thoughts. And maybe if you want us to come up with a different other feature of Azure, your desired feature, just put it in the comment section, and in our next video we'll be able to do it. Just as we promised, we'll give detailed explanation of every bit of every interface within this Azure DevOps board. Thank you for your time.